This third hour, so I would like to start from the inventory management. And I bring like three materials, three videos, like to quickly understand what's the meaning for the inventory management. And then we will move to the textbook material a little bit. I would say the textbook is a little bit rather old-fashioned, out of date. So I will skip some slides because of some of them a little bit old. But those three videos are some of like the latest inventory management skills or concept. So quickly let you know. All right, so let's start from the first one.
Welcome to Whiteboard Wednesday, where we discuss inventory management issues, and we keep the concept small enough that we can fit it onto a whiteboard. I'm Kirk Tanner, and I'm Chief Marketing Officer at Fishbowl, and today we're going to talk about what is inventory management. Now, this drawing here is a very simplified version of what inventory management is, but it's good enough to get our point across. Let's start out over here. We get goods delivered that come into receiving. All these items in receiving eventually have to be put away on the shelves. And then later on, we're going to pull these items. Some of these items might be pulled to be used in the manufacturing process, or we might be involved in wholesale distribution, and we'll just pull these goods and we'll send them out to our customers so that they can do things with them. Regardless, whether you're a manufacturer and you've got a finished good or you're sending out parts, all those pieces need to be shipped out at some point. A lot of companies will actually do a manual process to keep track of all of this and accomplish their business processes. Some are using an automated process. Let's talk about the manual process here for a second. This is very labor intensive. We've got a lot of data that we need to keep track of. This is only a small sampling of the data. Lot numbers, serial numbers, cost, quantity, dates for production, expiration, and shipment. When those goods come into receiving, that data needs to be captured for efficiency purposes and keeping track of your inventory. You move that from receiving over to the shelves, and you've got to update all this information that you're tracking. When you pull this, you've got to update it again. So again, if it's a manual process, you're involved in a lot of labor-intensive activity to move these items all the way through to pick, pack, and then ship them. That manual process is very labor-intensive. In an automated process, when this truck delivers the goods, you have a couple options. One, if it's a large shipment, you can move it right into receiving and then scan it with a barcode scanner and move it into these locations, scan these locations, and now your automated system knows exactly where all that inventory is. If it's a smaller shipment that arrives, you can skip this whole receiving area and just barcode it right into the places that you put it on the shelves, and you know exactly where.
Okay, so now you may know like traditional inventory is try to record everything by hand. Is that easy? Depends on your scale of a business. If you are just a home, small business, that should be fine. But if you are larger and larger business, it's impossible. We mentioned a car. If you want to assemble one car, last week we talked about you need to prepare like more than 12,000 to 13,000 parts. So it's very difficult to record just by hand. So right now more and more people use the computer help. And also like the traditional, I would say they mentioned use the barcode, and right now more and more use the RFID. So last year, some of you, we go to the Kaohsiung, you see the truck that just pass through the threshold and door, and almost all automation everywhere. So last year we see that. So just want to let you know a little bit different, but inventory management is try to understand all flow from your raw material to your semi-product to your final product and you sell out. Why we need to do that? If we don't do that, I would say business is still business, but why we need to do that? Anyone want to guess? So we go back to very fundamental question. Why we need inventory management? Why need to do the inventory management? Why?
To reduce the risk about overcapacity or over supply or over demands. So we must need an inventory management to reduce the risk about like that over demand or over supply.
Okay, good. That's one point. You better control everything. What else? Any other idea for that?
To ensure that we sell the right products. Like we produce every day, right? So So make sure that we sell the right products.
Okay, good. Now you have lots of products. You may need to know how many right products I sell out today. What else?
And then we can control inventory cost.
Okay. Very good. Yeah, cost you also control. I would say one hint, accounting. How many of you take the accounting before? Accounting is one course it is related to, but inventory management, some people would say it's related to cash flow. Remember that everything is related to cash. You spend money to purchase the raw material, you spend money to assemble or manufacture that, then you spend money to storage in the warehousing, you spend money to transportation outside. Eventually one day the final product can sell a lot, and then you get more money back and keep running this cycle. So some people say that inventory management or even supply chain management is related to the cash flow management. So it's very highly related. So if you run very well, the first week we talk about the inventory ratio. Remember that? It depends on it try to measure how to, if you run the inventory very well, then you can make this cycle run very fast, and then your money can get back very fast. But if this cycle is very slow, what will happen? You will have lots of inventory on your hand. Unfortunately, those kind of inventory, maybe the price will be decreasing and decreasing gradually. For example, the iPad or iPhone. Every year they have a new generation. So if you cannot successfully sell out your iPhone by your hand, what will happen if you are just a small retailer? Next year, new generation will come in. So you have more and more inventory, and your cash flow will be stuck on somewhere. So supply chain management or inventory management, some people say just a cash flow management. Make sure your inventory can be turned out very fast and get more money back. So business is running out. So that's why people want to do the inventory management. Know where your money is spent and how to get your money back very soon. So how to do a very easy inventory. So as we mentioned before, even for just one car, they have more than 12,000 to 13,000 parts. How to do that? Certainly, even though we have a computer help, you still need to monitor every part because if you lack of just one part, this car cannot be finished and sell out. So you make sure you have to well control those 12,000 to 13,000 parts. All stay very well. It's not easy to do it just in time. In this case, yeah, you will see, very difficult. So just in time is very difficult to operate in practice. You can just easily think about it. If you have more than 12,000 parts, if you request every part just in time, well, I would say nobody really do that, even for Toyota. So how to do that? I give you a hint, so I give you another video.
So it can be a daunting task, and if it's not done properly, it could cost your company thousands of dollars. There are several software solutions, such as Fishbowl Inventory, that can improve your inventory system by using 3 inventory management techniques. Using the just-in-time technique can be risky, especially if not implemented correctly. But if you do it right, it can be rewarding. Just-in-time does what the name suggests. It involves having products arrive as soon as the customer orders them. It is based on customer behavior, which is not always perfectly easy to predict. Keep in mind when using this technique that it will take a lot of time to research buying habits, seasonal demand, and location-based factors in order for this to be effective. Stock review is a regular analysis of stock versus projected future needs. This can be done through a manual review of stock or by using inventory software. Defining your minimum stock level will allow you to set up regular inspections and reorders of supplies. Make sure to take into account certain situations that can arise, such as vendors taking longer than average to replenish stock. In businesses where manual inventory management techniques are still in use, the primary inventory control methods include visual control, tickler control, and click sheet control. You shouldn't perform manual reviews because they can take a lot of time and possibly produce errors. Businesses are starting to invest more in software to automate the review. This helps organizations keep track of their inventory, ensure timely reorders, and avoid costly shortages. ABC analysis is a popular way to analyze your inventory. Under this method, you classify the inventory into 3 categories, such as A, B, and C. These categories are based upon inventory value and cost significance. Also, the number of items and values of each category are expressed as a percentage of your total value of your entire inventory. A items are items of high value and usually small in number. B items are items of moderate value and usually moderate in number. C items are items of small value and usually large in number. Remember to manage each category separately. The nice thing about Group C is that it can be fairly hands-off, while Group A requires special attention. Knowing what your hottest selling products are will help you know which ones to keep more of as a buffer stock while placing orders. More expensive items tend to take more time to sell, so you don't need to keep as many of those on hand. For more information on how to better manage your inventory, check out our website, our other videos, or click to subscribe.
Okay, so they try to explain the number one, they say just-in-time is risky. So most of the people like to say just-in-time, but in practice, we found just-in-time is very difficult to operate, as I mentioned before. Number two, they call stock review. Stock means the inventory, actually. So they have lots of review. We will tell you how to review in textbook and how to do the traditional way. And the third one is the ABC analysis. This is very common, and actually A means the high value, small volume, and C means the small value and high value. And in that case, the type A parts, you may need to carefully handle that. But type C, some people try to prepare a lot. So they have a different management issue. And we will talk more later, but just quickly let you know. So why we need to do the inventory management? This video tells you that if you do very well, something will go very well. But if you do not like very well, it will be stuck somewhere. So.
On optimization. Have you ever wondered how you could reduce your inventory levels within your distribution network while at the same time ensuring high availability? Using the multi-echelon concept, now you can. Your inventory could be reduced by up to 20%. How does it work, you might ask? Let's have a look at an industry example. This is Mr. Weber. Mr. Weber is a supply chain manager. He is responsible for a large network of warehouses. Like many other supply chain managers, Mr. Weber is under significant pressure to reduce his costs. He realizes that a lot of money is tied up in inventory. Along the way, Mr. Weber has attempted to reduce his inventory levels within his network. However, he has not been able to find a lasting solution. In order to understand why Mr. Weber has not been successful, let's have a detailed look at one of his warehouses. This particular warehouse is managed by Mr. Fisher. The warehouse serves the customers at the end of the supply chain. For example, Mrs. Turner. Mr. Fisher, much like his boss, Mr. Weber, is focused on reducing his costs. In the past, Mr. Fisher tried to reduce his costs simply by reducing his inventory levels. This was, however, not the optimal solution, as the availability for certain items became an issue, and customers such as Mrs. Turner were not satisfied with the resulting service levels. After realizing his mistake, Mr. Fisher decided to optimize his inventory levels.
So you know what happened right now, right? So when we look at the inventory management, not just look at the one warehouse, we need to look at the entire network. We call network is like entire global supply chain. Maybe not like global, even you just look at Asia, just regional, big regional. It's very difficult to control. So if every warehouse just pursue just in time, what will happen? Like this case. No one want to, just in time means like I don't want to any inventory in my warehouse. I just want to let arrive and immediate assembly outside, sell outside, no inventory. So if you look at just in time, the textbook will tell you like zero inventory plus avoid the 7 waste. 7 kinds of waste. But if everyone want to pursue just in time, you will see this case. You just push your inventory to other warehouse, but other warehouse may not be able to digest that. And also you will, so ideally is try to balance, try to make some balance. So from this week to next week, we will start to tell you how to balance this entire network inventory. So that's the issue. Depends, and also we will talk more about the push and pull strategy later on. Okay, so I don't have time to play the entire video, but if you are highly interested, you can go back home to finish that. Okay, I just give you a hint to see what's going on in my video. Alright, so then we officially jump to here. I have a Six Sigma definition. If you want to know, you can check it out. And also I have some like a basic comparison with the offshoring and outsourcing. And also, yeah, this is a trade war. I think that's fine. Let me skip that. I think this one. Okay. I actually because Ella they already saw this video last year, so I don't want to keep repeat a lot because I hate to repeat my stuff in every different courses. So I just quickly mention like what we done here. You can go back on the checklist report. It's very interesting. I will not say every year, every 2 years or 3 years, they will try to do any statistic report to compare with the world's top-selling car manufacturer in each country. So if you look at this report, you will find like this one, you will see the entire global map with a different automobile brand. For example, like the South Korea, maybe the Hyundai, and yeah, maybe they have lots of different like and also you will see the Ford dominate the United States and Canada, and also like the Toyota dominate most of the Asia country. So you will see they have the entire global map. I haven't updated. I have no time to update this map. Maybe you can show me more. But every 2 or 3 years, they will try to analyze what happened in their current car vehicle market and how to increase in their percentage in different markets. So we talk about a lot. And this one is like interesting. Is in Russia, the ranking #1 brand is the South Korea's brand. Why? So this video I have. I don't have the video here. Oh, okay, I forgot to put a video. Okay, anyway, the reason is the Hyundai they start to build a factory a few years ago. So we back to the last hour. I mentioned like the keyword is where you want to locate your facility and when to locate it. Like Hyundai built this factory many years ago, so they have a leading capability to leading other brands. So right now in Russia, they're even ranking #1, not other brands. So I want to let you know. And you can find some interesting things from this video every 2 years. If I have time, I can update that. Alright, so and this is another news. I don't want to repeat. But just it's always very interesting because lots of news related to this. But you will see I have a very limited time. So every week I can only share just one news with you. So today I choose the Li & Fung because Li & Fung's news just occurred on July this year. But this Kobe Steel event, they occurred maybe 2 years ago. So I would say if you are highly check the chatting, but most of the textbook will try to analyze the historical case to see why this will happen, how to react with that. And all these are very important, I would say, but I don't have time to mention every detail thing for that. So every week I will just bring what happened this year. But the past events, I just list here for you to, if you want to Google that, it's also very important. Okay, so before we end up the session today, I would like to spend 20 more minutes to tell you the fundamental background for the inventory management. So why we need to do the inventory management, you could see from the 1992 to the 2006, or even right now more than 2016. And we have one kind of ratio to measure the efficiency of the inventory management. We call it inventory sales ratio. What does that mean? It's kind of factor, so you will say inventory divided by sales per each period. So ideally, you will see 1992 this ratio is reached to the 1.56. To the 2006 reached to the 1.25. What's the ideal number for this ratio? The perfect number. What do you think? 1. Very good. 1. What's the meaning of 1? No matter how many product inventory you produce, you can sell out. So it's meaning of 1. But you could see 1 is very difficult and nearly impossible. So they can try to reach to 1, close to 1, if possible. So you can see they will try to do best. If you can do very well, control this ratio will tell you your situation. And this is the historical diagram. Certainly you will know like what happened here. So 2008 to 2010, they have the global financial crisis. So So in that case, no matter how well your inventory management skill, you can do nothing because the whole global business are stuck. Global business stuck means like no one want to purchase things, no one want to do the business shopping, so inventory will increase suddenly. Okay, so inventory management also related to the global economy. If the economy run very well, which means everybody want to shopping. Everybody want to shopping, the whole cycle will run very fast. Okay, so you could see. Okay, so why inventory management is very important, I mentioned this. This is for GS Motor. You can see they have lots of the stakeholder related to that, but every year inventory management involve a lot of things. Even for I contact with lots of big company in Taiwan, they also face this challenge. Everybody want to shorten and minimize their inventory cost, but it's very difficult actually, because you have a lot of parts. For example, like the more than 10,000 parts, maybe very difficult to manage. Sometimes it's not that good. Okay, so if you do very well, you can do lots of. Everybody try their best to reduce the cost we mentioned before, but very difficult reason is number one, customer demand is uncertainty. What does that mean? Can you tell me next year or even next season? Yeah, some people try to say no, I don't know. So even for the iPad or iPhone sales every year they launch a new generation. If you ask the Apple's leader or ask Apple's marketing department, maybe they will tell you their forecasting number. But when we go back to look at the recent past 3 years, you will find their forecasting is something wrong. Every year they produce a lot of iPhone, but in the past 2 years, even though for past 1 year, the sales is not very well. So what happened? Must be something wrong. So customer demand is very uncertain. You cannot imagine it. You don't know when they change their flavor. Another thing is shorter product life cycle make this uncertainty more difficult to control. As I mentioned, just back to the iPhone's case, every year they will launch a new generation. What's the life cycle for the every generation of iPhone? So anyone want to guess for how long the life cycle for each new iPhone?
Should be 1 year.
Maybe less than 1 year. Because every year they will launch, but not exactly 1 year. Anyone want to guess?
Yeah.
How many months?
6 months.
6 is too short, so they're very difficult. In general, 9 months. 9 months. Yeah, give them some survival way. So 9 months is still very difficult to control because the reason why they don't have it exactly 1 year because they need to a little bit early to finish their sales. Otherwise, they will become the real inventory. Because if you cannot finish your sales, the new iPhone jump in, every customer will try to pursue a new iPhone. No one wants to really take care of your old generation. So they have to end up. So they say life cycle around 9 months. So in the 9 months, you have to do whatever way to produce your product and then start to sell and finish the sales very soon. Also, more competitive products will also make the demand more uncertain. So for example, like every year, Samsung or like other famous cell phone brand will try to challenge the leading position for Apple. So maybe next year, maybe certain year, maybe Samsung give a very powerful new smartphone. Then no one really want to purchase iPhone. Maybe, I don't know. So if you have more competitive products, this demand will become more difficult to forecast because customer flavor will change year by year. Not just for demand uncertainty, supply also uncertainty. So that's why we say very difficult to match the demand and supply. Why supply will become uncertainty? Quality will be one problem. We do the quality management, total quality management, just because not every final product is very well to sell. So they have certain, you have to control the whole situation, whole process, make sure they are good quality. Quantity will be another issue. Maybe you have a limited labor, you have a limited machine, limited factory, limited assembly line. So you may not have so many sufficient product to sell out. Cost will be another problem. the price for raw material not always stable. Actually fluctuate everywhere. And also, as I mentioned before, the oil price fluctuate. They will affect other raw material price also fluctuate. So one supply chain will involve other supply chain. So cost involved, then cost become a little bit different. The supply will have another problem. So that's another issue. Delivery time will be small, tiny problem, but still something wrong. For example, the marine time. Last week I give you the DHL's case. You will find from Shanghai to Europe. The fastest way is from the air, maybe they need to take 4 to 6 days. But if you take marine time, they can range from 30 days to 38 days. So you see a big range. So still uncertainty. Lead time will be another problem. What's the meaning of lead time? Lead time means the time gap when you place the order until you receive the order. So this time gap also not always very fixed and stable. They will change based on the previous issue. And also, we will talk about this later. Incentive for larger like shipment, like it's related to we mentioned the order frequency. If you order a lot, maybe you can save some transportation cost. So, and also for customer side, if they like some people like to go to a Costco because you purchase a lot. The average price for each item may be very cheaper. So, but in that case, you will ruin your general routine shopping behavior. So we will talk about this in chapter 5. General, maybe you purchase for example, you purchase a milk maybe per bottle per week. But if you see like the price promotion, maybe this time you will purchase 2 milk together, which means like the next time maybe 10 days after you will purchase another new. So I would say like the incentive for price promotion will also affect the uncertainty. So we have lots of uncertainty. Make sure like it's very difficult to do the inventory management. So I just listed some of them. And this is the holding right amount of the right time is very difficult. So we have lots of past events. You will see like 1993 to 1994 to 2001. In textbook, they always have lots of historical events to tell you. Very difficult to manage this inventory. But I would say not just give up. So people still try their best to do something. So basically in the inventory management, we try to ask yourself 2 questions. I listed 3 of them, but let's give the first one. Because the first one will bring the problem become more complicated. If you just consider one item, so for example, we mentioned like they have more than 12,000 parts. If we just consider one part each time, then you just need to consider these 2. When to order and how much to order. So fundamental inventory theory, we will focus on these 2 issues. So when to order, how much to order. All right, so let's see one figure. Okay, before we talk about that, anyone have a gap? Anyone have the thinking? How you do the inventory management? If I don't introduce more like the traditional way, how do you evaluate when to order and how much to order? How will you do? For example, if you were the marketing department leader for the Apple, and I don't know, or you are just one retailer, you want to order an iPhone, and when to order, how much to order, how to think about this problem. Or sometimes you need to purchase the raw material. When to purchase the raw material, how much to order this kind of raw material. How will you do?
Maybe I must consider the lead times. As you have said, that lead times is the time gap between I order and when I get the goods. So I must consider the lead times to know when I must order the raw material.
Okay, very good. Number 1, Handy mentioned a lead time. So you have to a little bit prior to your ideally order time, you have to consider lead time because they have a time gap. When you place the order until you receive, so they have a time gap. So what else? So when to order and how much to order? Let's maybe answer the first question, when to order. So when to decide how frequently you order the new items. For example, you run a 7-Eleven when we back to the very early example, when you are the owner for the, I don't know, 7-Eleven Family Mart, how you determine when to order? How frequent of you make a new order? How to determine like maybe one day, once per day, or twice per day, or I don't know, once per week, or once per hour? How do you determine when to order?
I think it depends on product, what product are you selling, and which day. Maybe the product will be like purchasing much on holidays.
Very good. So number one depends on your how fast of your product sales. If some product sells very fast, maybe you have to better to order certainly faster. And sometimes some product need to order every day. For example, newspaper. Newspaper you have to order every day, or like I don't know, you have to check the expiration date. But every time you have to consider that. So let's look at what they do 100 years ago. 100 years ago. Some people try to bring this model they call it EOQ model. The model is very simple. Remember that is 100 years ago, around the 1915. Okay, so more than 100, maybe 103 years ago. So how he think about this? He tried to build up the model very simple. The horizontal is the time. The vertical size means the inventory level. So he assumed like, okay, we start from like for maybe this inventory means the whole capacity for the warehouse. And then every day you sell out some items. Maybe at the end of each month, you order new items again. And then you arrive and keep sales doing that. So repeat and repeat. So the model looks like, so if your pattern look at this way, so you can easily calculate average inventory level located here. Okay, so this is a triangle. What's the drawback for this model?
If the order size is not typically something like that, maybe sometimes it will be decreased, right? So the supply will be.
Okay, very good. So number one, you will see the size may not always very stable. Demand may not always very stable. The demand consumption rate may not always stable. Your order size may be always the same. Number one. What else? So this model means like your demand consumption rate is the same every day, every time period. So they can decrease, followed by the sales law.